Right. You gonna do the intro?
I did. I've never done one before.
He's never done that. He's wanted to.
Yeah.
He's wanted to. Go on then, go.
So welcome to Talk of the Town, Louise.
Thank you.
Proudly brought to you by Nikki Nelson. I'm your host, Simon Duffy, with Chris Butler, General Manager of Nikki Nelson.
This is why he doesn't do the intro.
Welcome to Talk of the Town, proudly brought to you by Yuki Nelson. I'm your host, Simon Duffy, General Manager of Yuki Nelson. And here with me today is Chris Butler from Marketing Shooting. How's that?
Jeez.
It's the first time I'm ever doing an intro, so bear with me on this one, okay? Today, we're coming to you from Louise Douglas Jewellery. And today, joining us is Louise from Louise
Hello.
Douglas Jewellery. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to have you guys here.
First of all, Louise, tell us about your background and where you hail from originally. And I don't mean, like hail on a storm or anything, but I think
Right.
you get the general hail. Mary.
Yeah, I grew up in country towns in New Zealand, lived in Wellington, and then started making jewellery at like 18 and selling to little design stores in Wellington, and then moved-
Straight out of school?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did study a little bit, and I had a few jobs here and there as you do at that age, but I was just sort of hustling jewellery at the same time. And then I went over to the United States, and my partner was living over there and working as a researcher, and I started working in the jewellery industry over there.
What part of America?
New York City.
New York City.
Yeah.
Did you like New York?
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, great city.
Manhattan?
Yeah.
Queens?
Yeah,
Manhattan.
yeah.
Whereabouts in Manhattan?
We lived in Greenwich Village at the beginning.
Oh,
I think
lucky.
when we got married, we lived in the village. Yeah. Sometimes we went to New Jersey some of the time, but
Yeah.
I worked in for jewelry companies, working as designer.
And did you get up to New England from the spare time around Massachusetts?
Over the time I lived in the States, we went and lived in Boston later on. Yeah. Yeah.
So tell us about that experience then. So, obviously you're doing your own designs and doing the hustle on the side, as you were saying, and then you end up in New York. So
Yeah.
tell us about that experience and
I
what.
started working for small companies, volunteering until I got my work visa, and then I got employed by a couple of different companies as assistant designers and doing private label work. So we design for sort of quite big companies, and then you get contracted to create collections for design stores. So yeah, I did that for many years. I got to travel, and in those days I got to go to Paris or London, to sometimes Mexico, different places.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, so going from designing your own stuff and then, was it easy to take on advice around jewellery? Did you have stars in your eyes, or were you a bit miffed you couldn't get to do your own stuff?
It's a really great way to learn. It was all about trend spotting and understanding what the trends were, and listening to the client. And yeah, so you got to learn a lot about that kind of industry, and then understanding how things are made and making the prototypes and sample lines. And no, I loved it all. It was great.
Was there anyone in particular that had the biggest influence on you, or was it?
I love fashion, but I was always looking at craft artists too. So I'm more of a craft art jeweler, I guess I'd say. So there was a lot of contemporary American craft art jewelers. So I'd go to all the trade shows and look at their work. And there was definitely a range of contemporaries that were influenced by nature that I would, cover and follow. And
Did you to take a pinch of everyone?
Yeah, or just kind of understanding a certain aesthetic towards jewellery and an approach to jewellery. That was a big influence for me, which is and that connection to nature.
So you mentioned private label. What's a private? Explain
Private
what that
label
means.
is like, let's say, a Glassons or something like that. The industry has changed quite a lot. This is a long time ago, but it's when they farm out, or they contract out companies to make their jewellery collection. So it's done by a contractor.
I'm sorry, what you mean.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like jewellery houses make their collections for them. Mhm.
So regional, sort of like on the skirts of Wellington, was it?
No, I lived in Wellington City in
Right. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, right.
Yeah.
Right in the heart of Wellington.
Yeah.
To New York.
Yeah.
And then at what point did you say we're coming back to New Zealand? And
Yeah.
then Nelson.
How did you know Nelson?
Yeah, after I was in New York City during September 11th, and things changed in my husband's industry, and there was the dot-com boom, and so my husband had the opportunity to go work for a software company in Boston, so we took it, and then so I lived in Boston for about or so years. And I started my jewelry business there. I had another business going at that time, and I sold where I was selling to Japan. So I was out on my own with a business partner, and she was still in New York. So I ended up selling that part of the business to my New York partner. And she continued through selling it through Japan. And then I started this label that I have now.
Yeah, right.
And continued through until I had my son, and then we decided to move back to New Zealand.
Okay, so New Zealand's one thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why are you sitting in front of us in Nelson?
How'd you get here?
Yeah. I just I had lived in Nelson for a little bit when I was about 21 before I got married. So I'd come back for a wee bit from the States. And I really loved Nelson. It was always sort of like a draw card for me. And my husband was born here, and my mother-in-law lived in Blenheim, and I had other family members that were curious about Nelson too. So we kind of all moved here at the same time.
Right.
And I like being in a small town. I lived in a small neighborhood in Boston where it was a big community of artists and creatives. And I felt like Nelson could have that same ticket for me.
Yeah, so
and it did.
Tell us on that front, because, when I was growing up, I was under the impression that through the 70s that Nelson was a bit of a hub for the artists, especially during the Cold War.
Yeah.
People would hide in New Zealand, but a lot of them, that's a reason why a lot of them, especially from the UK, came, like my father and a bunch of English people came to Nelson because of the Cold War. They thought New Zealand was a pretty good place to be, and that they were, even back then, into self-sustainability and growing stuff, and a large part of that was artists, especially like people like Christopher Vine, and the list would go on. And the pottery scene was huge, and there was Jens Hansen, he was prominent, Gavin Hitchings, and all those guys. So there was this arts hub, and
Toss Wollaston.
Yes, exactly. So did outside of Nelson, did it have that kind of persona about it? Did it have that reputation?
I remember being quite young and seeing that book, The Artist's Table, which was like a cooking book with craftspeople sort of mixed in, like craftspeople telling them about their recipes. And it just had a big influence on me, and just understanding that a little city could have so much creativity, and just the influence with nature as well, that kind of incorporating that into craft and art. And it did have a draw card for me.
So that's how you learned to cook.
Yeah.
A
A good recipes. They're still relevant.
A lot of mung beans and things.
Yeah. Lots of pumpkin.
Yeah.
And it could have been me just, being a teenager in the 80s and then going away from Nelson and coming back.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it's been a hidden secret, but I know there's some moves to try and
bring them back.
Should I be so bold to say, putting art back on the scene? But
Yeah.
what's your vibe on
I think
scene
it still
at the
has
moment?
that reputation. I think people are still really impressed with how many artists. Like, we have a lot of jewelers in town, and they're all creative and they're all different. So I do, and plenty of artists. There's a great art scene here in Nelson. It is still vibrant. I think. It's just reminding people.
Yeah.
We find with Unique Nelson having a variety of different members within the jewelry sector, because some sectors, they kind of keep themselves, but I find that everyone sort of works together or works on different projects together. Like we've got Play Week coming up, and there's jewelry weeks and week and things like that occur in the city. That it's actually quite a close knit, and everyone works together.
Yeah. Everybody knows each other, especially the jewelers are very supportive. Like there's a really nice vibe here. Jewelers know that you can all play to your own strengths, and so we all refer each other. I can do that, or that. Right. Go see that person if you can't find that, or you're in this price point, go to that person. It's a really great synergy in the jewelry and art industry here.
So you're saying Wellington, when you left school, did you always have an interest in jewelry, or did it just something oh, why don't you give this a go? Yeah, you're saying about 18 when you got into it?
Yeah, I was crafty. I just would craft since I was a kid. So I've always been interested in making things, making whatever I could do. So I would weave, I'd make clay, I'd paint. Yeah, I was just my mum said I was obsessed. Every holidays I'd have a plan of what I was going to make. I'd make all the Christmas presents. Yeah, so I've always done art and made craft. Yeah. So it's just, it was a natural thing.
A natural passion for it.
Yeah, and my grandmother was very much into art and jewellery and Danish pottery and all kinds of things. So I sort of grew up with that appreciation for objects, really.
So LDJ
Yeah.
design. How do you go about that design process? So I guess the struggle in an artist is that you're always trying to make your own designs, but at the same token, if you want to be successful in business, you've got to make for the market as well. So can you tell us about that design process for you?
Yes, Sarah Haynes is with the company too, and she's been with the company for 15 years. So her and I both design collaboratively now. So we come up with lots of different ideas, always based from nature. But we look at fashion as well, and also sellability and what people are looking for, and scale and size. So yeah, there is a lot to take into consideration for making a successful piece of jewellery, and not all are successful. Some are just, an indulgent design that don't sell many, but we like to have them in the collection because they create interest and integrity, and so it's a bit of trial and error, but I've been doing it a while, so we usually hit pretty well.
Oh, that's good.
But sometimes we just design things because we're interested and passionate about them. Yeah.
So when you say you design, you take your inspiration from nature.
Yeah.
All aspects of nature, or is it a particular, really, seashells on the seashore, or more trees, or?
Not all nature. It has been quite ocean inspired over the years, but we just launched a woodland collection, which is sort of based around fungi, and sort of little secrets in the forest. And sometimes botanicals. So we look at all aspects of nature. It's definitely the intricacies of nature, and also the imperfections in nature, which I find quite fascinating. Even erosion. It's not always 100% beauty based. It's more just intricacies and just those things that people connect with, or we connect with.
We connect with you.
The materials that you use, or minerals that you use, do you swing towards something in particular, or do you go right across the board? We
make in sterling silver, and we also produce it in 9-carat gold, but we can make in all metals. But our originals, we start in wax, so they're like small sculpture. So we carve each little piece in hardened soft wax, using a little Bunsen burner and using heated tools, and then we sometimes drills, and we make little tiny sculptural pieces, and then they are cast and they can be produced multiple times.
Because I find what's interesting now, you've got your showroom here upstairs on Trafalgar Street, on the corner, what are we, Hardy and Trafalgar?
Yeah. Best view in town.
Best view in town. See what's happening down the street. So behave yourselves. And but right next to the showroom is the workshop.
Yeah.
And people must be a little bit fascinated about
it is,
seeing you guys work away.
Interesting seeing people come in and they're like, oh. And I think until we moved the showroom up here, people didn't realize we actually made the jewellery here. So that's been quite eye-opening for some of my customers. Yeah. And it's really interesting to see their reaction, and they're very fascinated. So it's like getting a tour of the workshop.
Yeah, it's a great selling point.
Yeah, it is. I think it's great.
Experiential.
Yeah, it's been really fun to see people come on.
And this is kind of in my space too, because I'm always interested with jewelry, any retailer in Nelson. You have a combination of online and retail. Tell us about those different selling channels, and maybe how when you started off when you're 18 or 20 to where you are now.
Yeah.
That change, which has been quite that paradigm shift in retail has been huge.
Yeah, the biggest job you had at 18 was, I've got to make a business card and I've got to work out what my logo is, and that was about it. And then you just, I put everything in a case, and I walked around the shops and asked if they wanted to buy it, and then got a little invoice book, and that was it. So it's definitely changed. Social media is massive, and website and newsletters, and
So the crossover between having brick and mortar, such as this, and then your online, your e-commerce, you started off from that, like a lot of people do.
Yeah, start in e-commerce,
and
wholesaling. Yeah.
And wholesaling. How's that transition into e-commerce for you? Because quite often I use you as a good example with other business in town. Brick and mortar, great on social media, great on the e-commerce. You also sold through maybe some galleries up in various things.
Galleries and boutiques. Yeah.
But I'm really interested in that e-commerce side, how it's grown for you, or how it's matured for you.
Yeah.
And
there's always new challenges. I think optimization is probably the next challenge for me, but I've always had a really good website. My husband's a software programmer, and he designed my website, and it's also got a whole bunch of technical stuff that work into my invoicing system and stock take and all kinds of things. So it is quite sophisticated, and yeah, so that does work quite well for us.
Right.
But yeah, there's just a lot of noise out there now. It is quite hard, but I think if you've got a good, easy to use website and it's got good photographs and
Easy to use for the end user.
Yeah, for the end user, and also it has really good photographs and people can see the product and you offer great service, then yeah, that's a win.
What makes a good photograph? Because this is interesting, because when you look at say the hospitality sector, and there's either a good photograph of food or a really bad one.
I don't know about food. Food's
but
hard.
Jewelry,
yeah,
food is very hard to actually.
I do my own photography. It's not perfect, but it's the best I can do for, without having to pay a professional. I will pay a professional sometimes to do model shoots. But it's just trial and error for me. But I think it's about composition, making sure that and you drawing the eye into the piece. And so people can understand the scale of it and a motive. It makes people think, oh, I would like to try that, or I want to hold that, or look closer.
And so just the last question on the e-commerce, do you find a lot of people, they go looking for a restaurant, go looking for a product, where they see your website and then they come in?
Absolutely.
Because they want to try it on?
Yeah, people will pre-shop on my website. So they'll look at things, or they'll send a hint to their partner or to their mum or to, someone else. And so then they'll come in and say, I want that piece. And I've already seen it. So sometimes it's that straightforward. Otherwise, sometimes it's just gaining cachet for your space, so they already know what your collection is and they can tell that it's got a story, or it's got cachet behind it, or they can trust it. So then they feel better about buying it when they come into my space.
Interesting.
So and that combination of selling and bricks and mortar, where do you find you get most of your sales from?
Since I moved up to the showroom, I'm still kind of finding that out, because this is still a new space for us. My retail shop was definitely more turnover when I was downstairs, but my online is my biggest growth area. So it's about 50-50 for us.
Right? Oh, okay.
That's pretty good.
At the moment, So, and there's growth areas of both sides. So I'm always juggling, like, where am I putting my energy? But I have to split it between the two children.
That's right. And I think that's the other aspect is people don't realise is that it's almost like having two businesses, isn't it?
You put the wholesale in there, it's a third. It's a little sideline as well. It is like having two businesses.
You have to give a bit of energy to both.
For sure.
Okay, so spare time. Do you get spare time? Or when you're not in the shop, are you designing?
I do work.
Crafting?
It's typical business owner. I do work a lot at night, and I do work on my days off. But I am trying a little more since moving up to the showroom, because I've been working 12 years in Nelson on retail and 6 days a week. So I'm now down to 5 days a week, which is a little more manageable. I started volunteering at the Theatre Royal, so as an usher. So that's my happy place. I love going there and just seeing musical. Any random thing you get signed on to do, see bands and plays and dance, and so I really love that. And, I like to just get out and about otherwise, and go for walks and enjoy time with family.
So this question you had in the heart of Nelson CBD, you are right in the heart of Nelson CBD. You couldn't get any more hearty. In the centre. What do you enjoy the most about the heart of Nelson? But also, do you have any thoughts of what you'd like to see more in Nelson tomorrow, next year, the following years, and vision? And where would you, if you had to go bang 5 years forward, what do you think Nelson would look like?
I think tourism needs to get a bit more of a boost again since COVID, because we used to have a lot more tourism, and more students coming back into the city adds vibrancy, and I think that's just starting to grow back. It was just gonna take a little bit of time, but I can see it starting to come back. I love all the cafes. I like the boutique shopping. There's still plenty of boutique shopping here. I think it's great that some of the stores have moved from Morrison Square and have gone on the main street, and it's filled some of those shops, and it just looks really vibrant, and I can't wait for them to all be open, and I think that's going to look great. But I love all the galleries here too, like going to all the art galleries and
Are you aware of the new art strategy and things that's in that space that's been discussed a lot in the hub as far as the art refinery?
Yeah.
And that's there's a lot of eyes on at the moment in that space.
Yeah, I've got
It's
some
important.
friends that have a space over there and they're bringing vibrancy to it. I think, I think there's definitely, it often happens if there's a resurgence when things are kind of moving and shaking in a city, often the artists will be coming in and adding vibrancy to that space. So we've got to give them credit because they always do the hard yards at the beginning. So for adding back vibrancy after, obviously after COVID. Yeah. So I think that these are really good art scene, just still growing, young and, middle-aged. There's lots of people all making art now. So
yeah. You mentioned just before we sat down, there's a little secret you have when, say, someone proposes to someone, but they're not quite sure of the finger size. I've said finger size.
I've got a few finger size. We've got a few options. First, safest option is to find a ring that they already have and sneak it in or measure it.
True.
So you can print out a sizing chart on my website. But usually the problem is if we get the wrong size, we can resize it. So it's a bit of trial and error, and it is tough for guys trying to work out that size. It's not easy.
Oh well.
And the tip is, we were talking before, can the guy just go and choose the ring and get it made?
Yeah.
Carte blanche, and he'll be all right.
Yeah. What's the fail rate?
It
must be a death by something here.
Yeah, it is. It's a trial and error. But I find actually there are a lot of couples that come in and buy wedding rings together.
Yeah. That's the safe way, isn't it?
It's a little more a little more modern. But we do secret wedding rings as well, engagement rings. We have lots of different ways to try and work out that ring size, so we can help.
Have you ever come across, on the wedding day, as someone that the man's gone on and had it all made? Have you ever, maybe not you, but have you ever come across that industry where the ring goes on and she doesn't like it?
Well, that would be at the proposal, I guess.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, it happens at the proposal. Yeah, I've had that. We've had somebody say that this is not my cup of tea, so we have had to make a ring again or just adjust it, or it can happen.
And I have one more question before you sign off. You did it because there's lots of words in the sign off.
You might go and sign off.
You did this.
Official sign off.
In Holland, who's the main diamond merchant person who could construct? There's basically two names that control the whole diamond industry around the world, but in the Dutch. And
De Beers.
De Beers.
I'm not a big diamond kind. We're not as traditional as that. But
where in the Depression years, because normally, like Mum just had most in those days just had a gold ring.
Yeah.
And then after the slump or the Depression years of the 30s, they sat around. They weren't selling a lot of diamonds, so they come up with a campaign. Saying, diamonds live forever and diamonds are, and you need to buy your wife a diamond ring. Otherwise, and it used to be based on something like 2.5 or 3 weeks of the wages back then, and that's what you must spend. So this is the big campaign, and suddenly men are going, hang a bit. And there's this thing when instead of giving a woman a ring, he gave her an apple. She said, no, I want a ring.
Yeah.
But through that marketing, they created that demand, and then the sale of diamonds took off. And time and what was another one? Diamonds last forever, but they increase in value.
Yeah.
Was it diamonds are a girl's best friend?
It was all those sorts of things.
Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
And it was just a campaign.
Yeah.
Because
it's all marketing, isn't it?
And now you get, an engagement ring, then you get the ring.
Yeah.
And it was all come down to marketing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty cunning.
We don't do that traditional type of stuff here. Now we're definitely a little more untraditional, and it's more about just finding something that you connect with. It's not about buying the biggest diamond or spending 2 months' salary or it's definitely about connecting with the piece and finding something.
It's very pleasing.
And it can be sterling silver, it can be gold. Yes. But there is a lot of tradition around wedding rings. So I try to battle those because it's just not my thing, not my bag.
There's an American guy called Adam Ruins Everything. Go on YouTube and put Adam Ruins Everything.
Yes, that's right.
And it's just brilliant. He takes all those different myths and bits and pieces and completely defunks everything.
Yeah.
And he says it's called Adam Ruins Everything. It's very clever, very clever.
That's good. I like it.
Very good. Well, it's been a pleasure, Louise. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Beautiful space.
Yeah, we like it.
Windows of Nelson, windows on Nelson, you can
Mhm.
call it. And you must come up and see the studio. It's upstairs, entrance off Hardy Street. Just some beautiful pieces of jewellery in here. And of course, you get to see the crew at work as well. So
Yeah,
the
working.
design process as well. So that's fantastic.
And when you come in, we can't show you, well, you can't see it. When you come in, look up.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Amazing.
Actually, what was that? Do we know?
The people. Yeah, okay, tell us.
I think it's the Colonial Mutual Tower of Insurance.
Colonial Mutual Tower of Insurance.
Looks like a pillbox. And
I think it was just exposed for earthquake strengthening. But it's become quite a brute.
Yeah, it's almost like
feature.
it was an old silo or something.
Yeah, I think it's just a architectural sort of tower. If you look outside,
Yeah.
you'll see the tower. There's a little room on top of it apparently, but it's
Is
all
there?
closed off. But yeah, someone told me that they used to go up there and have a few drinks and
So you haven't
smoke
tried-
cigarettes when they were kids.
So you haven't tried to climb up there?
No, you can't get up there now. It's all cordoned off.
He'll be around this
Oh,
afternoon with the ladder. Yeah, we'll come in and then look up. Yeah, but don't forget about the jewellery.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Louise.
Lovely, thank you.
Fantastic.
Thanks for having me.
All good.
Pleasure.
You can find this podcast along with others at uniquelynelson.co.nz and also talknelson.co.nz and on Spotify on Uniquely Nelson. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to join us next time for more from Talk of the Town. This is Chris Butler, Simon Duffy signing off. Until next time, Nelson.
Stay LBJ. LDJ.
LDJ.
Remember LBJ?
Yeah, I
Lyndon
do, but this is
John.
LDJ.
Oh,
LDJ.
LBJ's old news.
it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure.
So unique.